So this is on graphing using a table, and in the directions it says complete the table, then graph the line defined by the points. So sometimes if you're just graphing an equation and you're not told what method to use and you want to use the table method, then you're going to have to choose your own values. But in these particular problems, you'll notice that they've given us some of the values in the table, and then we have to find the matching values. So in our first example, which is right here, it says 4x plus 3y equals 6. That's our equation. And then the first value they give us is that y equals 2. And we know it's y equals 2 because it's in the y column. So all we have to do to find the value for y equals 2 is you plug 2 in for y in the equation and then solve the equation for x. So I always start with my equation, so 4x plus 3y equals 6. And then we're going to plug in 2 for y. So that's 4x plus 3 times y, which we're plugging in 2, equals 6. And now just solve the equation for x. So 3 times 2 is 6, so that's 4x plus 6 equals 6. Now we're solving for x, so we want to get rid of the 6, so we subtract 6 from both sides. That gives us 4x equals 0. And now we're going to divide by 4 on both sides. And that gives us x equals 0. So when y is 2, x is 0. So we plug that into the table. Now remember, that gives us the ordered pair 0, 2. So we want to plot that on our graph. So we go to x is 0, y is 2, and we're going to put that point in. Alright, so on to our next one, and they've given us x equals 3. So once again, we start with our equation, and that's 4x plus 3y equals 6. We're plugging in x is 3, so 4 times x is 3, plus 3y equals 6. And now solve for y. So 4 times 3 is 12. Plus 3y equals 6. Solving for y, so we need to get rid of the 12, so we subtract 12 from both sides. That gives us 3y equals 6 minus 12 is negative 6. And then we divide by 3 on both sides. And that's y equals negative 2. So when x is 3, y equals negative 2. And that gives us our next point, which is 3, negative 2. So we plot that point on our graph. So we start at 0, 0, go to x is positive 3, and then y is negative 2. So we go down to y is negative 2. Now once you have 2 points, you can draw your line, but the idea is that we always want a third point to make sure that all 3 points are on the same line. Otherwise, we might have made a mistake with one or the other of our points. So, our last point, they give us y is negative 1. So 4x plus 3y equals 6. And we're plugging in y is negative 1. So that's 4x plus 3 times y, which is negative 1, equals 6. So 4x plus 3 times negative 1 is negative 3, equals 6. Now to solve this for x, we need to get rid of the negative 3. So we're going to add 3 to both sides. And that's 4x equals 9. And now we need to divide by 4 on both sides. So that's x equals 9/4. But remember, improper fractions are hard to graph, so I would turn that into a mixed number. 4 goes into 9 2 times with a remainder of 1. So it's really 2 1/4. So we've got 2 1/4 negative 1. And that's our point. 2 1/4 negative 1. So now we want to graph this. So we start at 0, 0. Now going to x is 2 1/4 is going to be difficult, because if you look at where 2 is, And then where 3 is, 2 1/4, we need to go 1/4 of the way. So 2 1/4 is 1/4 of the way in between 2 and 3. And then we want to go down to -1. Right there. And now we can see that these 3 points lie on the same line. Alright. So anytime you're dealing with fractions, it can be a little tricky. The big thing is just to make sure that you're graphing very carefully. In example 2, we've got y equals 1/3 x. So notice that in this table they've given us all values of x, which are nice because they're going to be easier to solve for. So we always start with our equation, y equals 1/3 times x. First value we want to substitute in for x is 0. So that would be y equals 1/3 times 0. Well, anything times 0 is 0. So when x is 0, we get y is 0. And that's the origin. So we're going to put that point in. So then we start with the equation again, y equals 1/3 x. Our next one is x equals 3, so y equals 1/3 times x, which is 3. 1/3 times 3 means 1/3 of 3, which is 1. So when x is 3, y is 1. So we go to x is 3, y is 1. Put our point in. And then our last one is x is 6. So y equals 1/3 x. Y equals 1/3 times x, which is 6. And 1/3 times 6 would give us 6/3, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. So y equals 2. Now right now our scale only goes up to 5, but we know that the 6 is right here. So we want to go to x is 6, y is 2. And now we can see that these points all lie on the same line. Also remember when you're drawing your lines to put your arrows on both ends to show that it goes off infinitely in either direction.